Chapter 24 is on basketball, and you'll find that we can teach some of the fundamental skills or introduce it in development level 1, but normally the rules, strategies, and such are taught in the intermediate grades 3, 4, and 5. So I want you to know the skills, the instructions you teach the students on the skills of the game of basketball. I want you to know that should be introduced primarily during the intermediate grades 3, 4, and 5, after the children have mastered the basic prerequisite skills. You're going to teach the rules and strategies. This is a very important part of the process. And you always want to have a proper progression when you're teaching fundamental skills. So we have lead up games that are actually providing the students the opportunity to develop the basketball skills of dribbling, passing, and shooting, to where the students aren't actually playing a game of basketball, they're playing parts of the games in what we call lead up games. On page 602, they talk about the fact that in our PE setting, where we emphasize instruction and skill development, we have very little time for regulation basketball play during the school hours. So I want you to know that. We're doing these lead-up games, as I talked about. We don't have time to play a true regulation game of basketball in elementary PE. Our emphasis is on skill development. Our emphasis is on the instruction. So we want to get them to learn how to dribble a basketball, how to pass a basketball, how to shoot a basketball in grades 3, 4, and 5. So what can we do to modify things for the elementary students? I want you to know we can use smaller balls, or we could lower the baskets, and this would help them to focus on shooting correctly or doing correct patterns as opposed to just making a basket. This will help to, I want you to know, will help them increase their success and help to keep them motivated to want to try and shoot correctly or dribble correctly or pass correctly. So what is our instructional emphasis and sequence? In developmental level 2, I want you to know it focuses on the fundamental skills. What are the 4 fundamental skills? I ask this almost every year when working with elementary and junior high kids in league play when I help coach basketball. And they can get passing, shooting, and dribbling, but almost every year they cannot think of catching. But it takes 2 people to make a good pass, the person who's passing it and the person who's catching it. Just like in football or any other sport, it takes 2 people. So these are our 4 fundamentals in basketball that I want you to know. So we have the lead-up games in the book called like birdies in the cage or circle guard and pass drill. So they're working on these fundamental skills as opposed to playing an official game of basketball. We also want to teach them how to do a layup shot, a one-handed shot, in developmental level 2, the 3rd and 4th grade. Then for developmental level 3, the 5th graders, this is where we still provide lead-up activities, just like we did, but now we're going to have some shooting games. Now we're going to introduce competition, and they're going to continue to practice on those fundamental skills. I want you to know. You never want to stop that, even in high school, junior high, high school, and college. You always want to work on the fundamental skills. But now we're going to introduce officiating and allow some self-officiating in the game so they'll learn to respect the officials who actually call the game. Passing. How do we teach passing? I want you to know in order for the students to have firm control, they need to handle the ball with the thumb and the finger pads, not with the palms of the hand. I cannot stress that enough for passing and shooting and dribbling. Okay? So what are the instructional cues they talk about in the book? Fingers spread, elbows in, step forward, throw at the chest level. For bounce passes, you bounce the ball past the halfway point closer to the receiver. I can't stress that enough. Students have so much trouble with that in elementary. Here's our little young lady doing a chest pass. Notice she has one foot ahead of the other. The knees are flexed a little bit. You're going to release the ball at the chest level. Fingers are spread out. You're going to extend your arms and snap at the wrist to pass the ball. Two-hand over-the-head pass is another type of pass, effective against a shorter opponent. In your book, they also talk about a bounce pass that I want you to know. And we already stated this, bouncing the ball a little more than halfway between the two players makes it effective, efficient for the receiver to be able to catch it. Bounce passing is very good when you have an opponent on you, or if you're playing man-to-man, you keep the ball low. But if you bounce that ball halfway between the two of you, between you, the passer, and the receiver, that ball's going to bounce so high and they'll be able to steal the ball from you. So bounce pass, know about a bounce pass. Catching is our second fundamental skill that we're talking about in this chapter. So the receiver moves toward the pass with the finger spread out. The hands give with it. So what are the instructional cues that I want you to know for catching? I want you to know you need to move to the ball. Spread your fingers, catch with the fingertips, reach for the ball. Remember I said in order for a good pass to occur, it takes two people, the passer and the catcher. And then number 4, give with the ball. Bring the ball closer into the chest. So know these 4 instructional cues on how to teach catching. Dribbling is our third fundamental skill in basketball. So what's our definition of dribbling that I want you to know, or why do we dribble? I want you to know you're going to dribble in order to advance the ball, in order to make a break for the basket, or in order to maneuver out of a very difficult situation. So these are the 3 reasons why you dribble. To advance the ball down the court, you might need to break towards the basket to score a goal, or you might be in a bind, you might be in a difficult situation that you need to maneuver out of it. So what are the instructional cues I want you to know for dribbling? Push the ball to the floor. Don't slap at it. Push it. Make it do what you want it to do. Push the ball forward when moving. Keep the hand on top of the ball. And keep your eyes forward. Keep your head up whenever you're teaching dribbling. At first, let them look at the ball when dribbling, but progress to where the eyes are up. Here's our picture of someone dribbling. Notice he's using his finger pads. He's not using the palm. His eyes are up. He's protecting the ball. He's got that left arm in front of him. Shooting is our 4th basic fundamental skill for basketball that you want to try and teach the students. They need to develop some consistency and have a proper technique about them when they are learning how to shoot. Here, they give some instructional cues. Again, the pads of the fingers, elbow in. I can't say enough about that. 90% of the work for shooting should be done with your dominant hand. So you really don't need the non-dominant hand, but you have it on your body, and it looks funny to shoot without it, but you really don't need it. Shoot through the ball by extending the elbow. I call that the follow-through. Always bend your knees and let your legs do more of the force. Release the ball off the fingertips. What are the different types of shots we would have to do? The layup shot, the free throw shot, the jump shot. I'm going to talk more about that shortly. One of the type of shots, they show a picture on page 605. It's called the one-hand push shot is how they label it, but a lot of people just call it the set shot. I want you to know this set shot is good for longer distance, like 3-pointers and such, or around the free throw line, that far out. And I also want you to know most of your elementary, that's on the jump shot. A jump shot at shorter distances is what you're going to do, but the set shot is for longer distance, because most of these elementary school children find it very difficult to shoot a jump shot. So a set shot can be taught to them, though. They can get that. Jump shot is going straight up and releasing it at the height of your jump, and that's the difficult part for the students. I would even introduce it to 5th grade because junior high has trouble with it. And as I said earlier, I want you to know that most of your elementary school children find it difficult to shoot a jump shot. Their legs cannot increase in order to get them to jump high enough to release the ball. It's very hard to do the timing for a jump shot, so don't even try to introduce it. I mean, you can introduce it if you have a very athletic student in the fifth grade, maybe, but I definitely wouldn't introduce it sooner. Defending or playing defense against the other team who has the ball, you always want to keep your knees bent. It gives you more agility, more quickness in order to play defense. You want your hands up. You don't want to cross the feet when moving because you might get tangled up and trip. Okay? You can wave one hand to distract the opponent, but you want to face the opponent at about a distance of 3 feet. So defending or playing defense. Learning how to stop quickly can be a challenge for elementary students. So I want you to know, in order for the students to stop quickly, they need to lower their center of gravity. So what does that mean? They need to break down, bend their knees, and get down. You can't stand tall and straight and expect to stop quickly. So I want you to know they need to have both feet break simultaneously in order to do what's called a parallel stop. So bend the knees in order to lower the center of gravity and have both feet stop at the same time in order to do what's called a parallel stop. Pivoting. Pivoting is a very difficult concept for third and fourth graders to get. I don't even think I would introduce it then. Maybe to fifth graders I would introduce it. But what is pivoting? Why do we want to teach pivoting? Pivoting actually, I want you to know, protects the ball by keeping your body between the ball and the defensive person trying to get the ball. So you want to learn, you have one foot, which is the pivot foot, and it always has to be in contact with the floor. So you're on your toes with that foot. And the other foot is going in all different directions and such, and you're doing what I call sweeping with the ball. Sweep low, sweep high, so that the opponent can't take the ball away from you. So pivoting is a very difficult concept for the kids to learn in elementary, but you might want to try and introduce it. I want you to know what feinting is. It's not passing out. Feinting in basketball means you're doing a faking motion in one direction, and then you move in another direction. Okay, you're faking them out, but that's called feinting in basketball. You can fake or feint with the eyes, with the head, with the foot, or even your whole body. So when you're passing, feinting means you're going to fake a pass in one way or direction, and then you're going to pass in another way. Here are a few instructional procedures to help you to teach the game of basketball. Many of the skills that you need to teach them do not actually require basketballs. You could use rubber playground balls. Volleyballs, I don't know if they would bounce, but you could use it for dribbling, for passing and shooting. And most of these skills can be practiced individually, or you could have them in groups of 2. And that way they can practice or develop at their own pace. And we've already talked about lowering the basket if possible to help them get proper shooting form and not be so concerned about making it all the time. But actually, I like to put them against the wall when I'm working on shooting so they can develop proper shooting form. And then you want to concentrate on skills or drills so that they'll have ample practice opportunity. I can't say enough about drills. The book has the basic basketball rules for the elementary school children. It's very similar to your official game. It's just modified to allow success and proper skill development. How to put the ball in play. What are some violations, such as traveling or stepping out of bounds, or if you're more than 10 seconds crossing the half-court line. And then you have dribbling violations or stepping over a restraining line, doing a jump ball or a free throw, if you accident or intentionally kick the ball, and if you're more than 3 seconds in what we call the lane. These are all violations. Then they talk about fouls and scoring and substitutes. As I said, I can't say enough about doing drills with the students, no matter what the age group. So we have ball handling drills where they go around the body, and these are included in our activity outline. Figure eight, speed drill, double circle drill. And then when we turn to page 610, you have your individual dribbling drills. And then we offer group dribbling drills. Then the progression would be dribbling and pivoting dribbling drills, shooting drills, offensive and defensive drills. And then we have our basketball activities for development level 2, circle, guard, and pass. I talked about that earlier. I love dribble-rama. You have 3 different levels for dribble-rama. And you can, it's basically basketball tag where you're going to play 2 or more games simultaneously if you do level 2. And then we go on to development level 3 where you have lead up practice in all of the basketball skills. They talk about sideline basketball, and 21's a shooting drill, 3-on-3, excuse me. And then the last part of this chapter talks about this different skills test where you could do dribbling, figure eight dribbling, wall pass test. Basketball, if you teach it effectively, can contribute strongly to your total curriculum. There's all kind of games that can be done with dribbling or passing. Your emphasis should be on the skill development by using lead-up games so they can experience success. We can modify the equipment to help them with success, to help them stay motivated. And then the rules could be simplified also for the younger ones so that they will be successful. Here are some good thought questions on reviewing and then reflecting. So what are some skills that you've learned in other units or lessons that might help the students be successful within the basketball unit? The dribbling, the passing, and such. How can the equipment be modified in dribbling? We talked about that already. Possibly using playground balls because you're not going to have basketballs, but that's okay. There's also a parachute activity where they hold on to the parachute with one hand and they're dribbling. For the younger students, what rules could you potentially modify for them to be successful? And how many days of instruction would you dedicate to a basketball unit? Would it be 5 days? Would it be 10 days? I used to do 10 days. Sometimes I would do 5 days in the fall and then 5 days in the spring, or sometimes I would do 10 days in the fall because many of these students were in a little basketball league, and so it would help them to practice. This concludes chapter 24 on basketball.